Okay, if you are 39 years old right now and someone just walked up to you and told you that your body could already be entering a hormonal transition, like a transition quietly altering your periods, your sleep, your mood, your sex drive, and even the very way your metabolism responds to food, would you believe them? Or would you just, laugh them completely out of the room?
I mean, you'd probably laugh. It sounds almost impossible when you feel like you're still in the absolute prime of your youth.
Exactly.
But before we get into the biology of that whole transition, welcome to the Living Better podcast.
We just want to say a huge thank you to our incredible community for tuning in today.
Yes, thank you so much for being here.
And please make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode.
Yeah.
We are completely skipping the pleasantries today because we need to get straight into the bizarre, honestly, almost cruel irony of the modern wellness space right now. Because for decades, generations of women were essentially gaslit by the medical establishment. They were just told, oh, it's natural, it's just your age, pop an antidepressant and deal with it.
Which is just awful. It left millions of women suffering in total silence for years.
Total silence.
But the thing is, the pendulum hasn't just swung back to the middle. It has completely detached and flown into a totally different universe of extreme panic.
Oh, 100%.
Like the internet is suddenly selling this narrative of impending biological catastrophe. You log on to social media, and an algorithm that is literally designed to weaponize your anxiety tells you that your hormones are crashing.
Right, your brain is breaking.
Exactly. And it tells you the only salvation is like a $500 wellness protocol, 20 different supplements, and some obscure detox tea.
It's madness. Both of these extremes, the medical gaslighting and this new wellness fear-mongering, are completely unacceptable.
Completely.
So our mission for this episode is to dismantle that fear. We are finding the highly evidence-based, deeply empathetic middle ground for your specific body.
Because the thought on the mind of almost every 39-year-old woman out there, whether she actually says it out loud or not, is, am I next?
Am I next? This is happening to me right now.
Right. So let's start by accurately defining what is actually happening in the body at 39. We really need to clear up the definitions immediately.
Yes, please, because being 39 absolutely does not mean you are in menopause.
Not at all.
Menopause is not this long, drawn-out, 10-year disease state. Technically, biologically, it is a single solitary point in time.
Just 1 point.
Exactly. It is exactly 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period. That is it. A single day on the calendar. And the average age for that in the US is around 52.
52. So everything leading up to that single point in time is the menopausal transition, which is clinically referred to as perimenopause.
And that's where all the confusion lives, right?
All the confusion and frankly all the dread lives right there in perimenopause. It's so vital to understand what actually constitutes a real pattern. Like if you have one late period because you were traveling across time zones,
Or you were super stressed.
right, under a massive deadline at work, or you caught a terrible flu, that is not perimenopause. That is just life.
I always think of the menstrual cycle kind of like the dashboard of a car. If the check engine light blinks on just once while you're driving up a steep hill in the snow, you don't immediately pull over and assume the entire engine block is cracked.
You'd hope not.
But if that light starts blinking repeatedly, like if your periods are suddenly 21 days instead of 28, and then 40 days, and then heavier than you've seen since high school, and then incredibly light, that is a pattern.
A very clear pattern.
Yeah. But society conditions women to view their periods merely as an annoyance. Just something to pop an Advil for, hide the tampons up your sleeve and completely ignore.
Which is such a disservice.
It is. I want to push you to completely shift that mindset today. A blinking light on a dashboard isn't a diagnosis, it is data.
Yes, your cycle is crucial biological information. It is literally your body's primary communication system.
Explain why that dashboard starts flashing in the first place. Because it's not just your ovaries randomly deciding to quit their jobs, right?
No, not at all. It is a complex communication breakdown between your brain and your reproductive system. So your brain sends a signal. It's called follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH.
Okay, FSH.
Think of FSH as the brain basically yelling at the ovaries to get an egg ready. When you're 25, the ovaries listen immediately.
They've got great hearing.
The egg matures, estrogen is produced, the brain is happy, and the whole system just hums along.
Nice and smooth.
Right. But as you approach 40, the ovaries start to lose their hearing. They just have fewer eggs left, and the ones remaining are a lot less responsive.
Uh-oh. So what does the brain do?
It yells louder. It pumps out more and more FSH, and the ovaries might sputter and overreact, like pumping out a huge surge of estrogen, or they might not react at all.
Wow.
That erratic communication, that hormonal shouting match, is exactly what makes your cycles suddenly so chaotic.
And that chaotic shouting match feels terrifying when you are in the driver's seat. Because if you ask most people what this transition looks like, they will instantly just say, oh, hot flashes.
Like you just get a little warm and need a paper fan?
Exactly, which is such a massive trivialization of the reality. I mean, it isn't just feeling warm, it is profound sleep disruption.
Oh, absolutely debilitating sleep disruption.
And I mean, the specific kind of torture where you are suddenly wide awake at 3 in the morning, drenched in sweat, staring at the ceiling.
Yes. The mechanism behind that 3 a.m. panic, it's all about how your hormones interact with your nervous system.
Tell me more about that, because it feels so random.
It's not random at all. When you ovulate regularly, your body produces progesterone, which is basically the brain's natural soothing agent. It has this very calming, almost sedative effect.
Like a natural chill pill.
Exactly. During perimenopause, as ovulation becomes sort of hit or miss, your progesterone levels can just plummet. You lose that chemical safety blanket. At the exact same time, those wild swings in estrogen we just talked about can trigger your sympathetic nervous system.
Oh, wait, so a night sweat isn't just your temperature rising?
No,
Hmm.
your brain literally thinks you are being chased by a predator in the middle of the night.
That is insane. No wonder you were lying there with a pounding heart, obsessing over an old email.
Right. Your body is in full panic mode.
But I have to bring up this symptom that I think scares people the most, honestly. The brain fog.
Oh, the brain fog is so tough.
It's feeling like you are literally losing your cognitive edge. You're in the middle of a presentation and suddenly you just cannot remember a completely basic word.
Feels incredibly vulnerable.
Extremely. And when you understand the hormonal roller coaster you just described, it is so tempting to just point the finger at plummeting estrogen and say, well, my brain is breaking because my hormones are gone. Give me a pill to fix it.
Yeah, I see this all the time. We cannot let estrogen be the scapegoat for every single struggle a woman faces in midlife.
You don't think it's just the hormones?
Not entirely, no. A woman comes in, exhausted, struggling to focus, and immediately blames her ovaries. But we have to look at the reality of the context. Midlife is objectively chaotic. You might be at the absolute peak of a highly demanding career, managing a team of people. You might be raising teenagers who are going through their own massive hormonal storms.
Oh man, double the hormones in one house.
Right. Plus, you are likely starting to navigate the healthcare system for aging parents. You are carrying this massive mental load, you are highly stressed, and because of those night sweats, you haven't slept a full 8 hours in 6 months.
That sounds exhausting just listing it out.
Right. Severe chronic sleep deprivation and sky-high stress will cause profound, debilitating brain fog in a 25-year-old male athlete.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but let me push back a little. Isn't it just easier to treat the hormones?
Easier.
Yeah, because if the night sweats are causing the sleep deprivation and the sleep deprivation is causing the brain fog, then the hormones are still sort of the root of the problem. Why not just focus entirely on fixing the hormonal drop?
Because if you only treat the hormones and completely ignore the lifestyle, you are putting a bucket under a leaky roof instead of fixing the hole. The goal isn't to immediately blame your estrogen levels for your career burnout. The intelligent, effective approach is to step back and take a holistic inventory. You have to ask yourself, what has actually changed in my body, my environment and my stress load over the last 12 months, context is everything.
Context is everything.
Yeah.
But let's be real about human nature for a second, though.
Okay.
The second you recognize these symptoms, the immediate panicked reaction is, how do I stop this process?
Of course, everyone wants to stop it.
Right. How do I pause the clock?
And the factual, completely unshakable scientific answer is you can't. You cannot stop or reverse normal, natural ovarian aging. Every woman is born with a finite number of ovarian follicles.
Right, there's a limit.
And over decades, those follicles naturally undergo a process of cellular degradation. You simply cannot reverse a cell that has already completed its life cycle.
So all that stuff on the internet is basically lying.
Pretty much.
There is no hack, no celery juice cleanse, no specialized intermittent fasting window, no exotic mushroom powder that is going to magically make your ovaries behave like they are 25 again.
There is zero clinical evidence that any food, detox, or fasting protocol can reverse ovarian aging. None.
And man, that sounds incredibly heavy, almost like a defeat, you know?
It can feel that way at first.
Yeah, because women hear the phrase, it cannot be reversed, and they immediately translate that in their minds to mean, well, absolutely nothing can be done and I just have to suffer.
Which is completely false.
Because if the timeline is fixed, the only variable we actually have left to manipulate is the physical foundation we bring to the starting line.
Yes. Realizing you cannot stop the biological clock is actually one of the most empowering reframes a woman can make.
How so?
It is a massive relief. Think about it. Spending your entire fourth decade trying to defeat your fundamental biology is an exhausting, soul-crushing waste of your time, your energy, and your money.
Oh, that is so true.
You cannot reverse ovarian aging, but you absolutely have an arsenal of tools to treat the symptoms and fortify your body.
Okay, so since we can't pause time, let's talk about building that fortress. And this is where my blood absolutely boils, to be honest.
Uh-oh, here we go.
I mean it. The entire cultural conversation around women and menopause hyper-focuses on one incredibly toxic metric: weight.
Ugh, yes.
The societal pressure on women in their 40s is to just shrink. Just eat less, be smaller, take up less space. It's maddening, and honestly, it is biologically dangerous.
It is the exact wrong focus. The true priority should never be the gravitational pull of your body on a bathroom scale. It must be preserving your muscle mass, your metabolic health, and your physical function.
Great.
Let's look at the actual mechanism here. Estrogen is an anabolic hormone.
Meaning it builds things up.
Exactly. It actually helps your body build and maintain muscle tissue by aiding the stem cells that repair muscle fibers after you move. So when estrogen begins to decline, your physiological environment becomes actively resistant to muscle growth.
So your body is actively fighting you on building muscle.
Right. So if you are just doing endless hours on the elliptical and practically starving yourself to stay thin, you are accelerating the loss of the very tissue that keeps your metabolism burning and your joints stable.
That is a recipe for disaster.
It really is. Resistance training is not some cute suggestion for women approaching this transition. It is absolute, non-negotiable baseline maintenance.
I always tell people to think of their muscle mass kind of like a retirement account.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, when you are 39, you are in your prime physical earning years. You need to be aggressively contributing to that account right now.
Putting those deposits in.
Exactly. You need to be lifting heavy things because later on, the market conditions, meaning your hormonal environment, are going to change, and it will be significantly harder to build that wealth from scratch.
It's such a good way to look at it.
The goal of exercising in your 40s isn't to fit into the exact same pair of jeans you wore at 29. The goal is to be strong enough to carry your own luggage through an airport, to get up off the floor without groaning, and to maintain your physical independence for the next 40 years of your life.
Yes. Exercise is an investment in the woman you are becoming, not a punishment for the food you ate.
Absolutely.
And speaking of food, the moment perimenopause is mentioned, The wellness industry tries to eliminate every single ounce of joy from your diet.
It's always about what you have to cut out.
Always. No carbohydrates, absolutely no dairy, definitely no fruit after 6 p.m. It is a miserable way to live.
Completely unsustainable.
Right. A midlife diet shouldn't be about endless restriction. It needs to be about adequate protein to support that muscle repair we just talked about. It's about high fiber to feed your gut microbiome, which, by the way, helps regulate those wildly fluctuating hormones.
Very important.
And as for cardiovascular exercise, you aren't doing it to burn off a glass of wine. You do cardio because as estrogen drops, your blood vessels lose some of their elasticity.
Okay.
Cardio forces your heart to pump and keeps those vessels flexible. It protects your heart, it stimulates bone density, and it regulates your mood.
Okay, so we build the muscle, we eat the protein, we manage the stress. But let's get into the heavy medical interventions.
Do it.
Because when symptoms are actively destroying your quality of life, I mean, you cannot just downward dog your way out of severe night sweats.
No, you really can't.
We have to talk about hormone therapy and specifically the absolute minefield of predatory marketing out there.
Hormone therapy, or HT, is surrounded by decades of incredibly confusing messaging. Let's just be very clear. It is not the devil it was made out to be in the early 2000s.
Right.
But it is also not a magical, risk-free fountain of youth that will solve every single problem in your life.
So what is it then?
Think of hormone therapy not as a time machine trying to drive you back to your 20s, but as a shock absorber for your current vehicle.
Okay.
It isn't stopping the car from going down the bumpy hill of perimenopause, but it is keeping your teeth from rattling out of your head along the way.
That is a great visual.
It is highly effective for smoothing out hot flashes, protecting bone density, and resolving vaginal changes. But it is medicine. It has to be highly individualized.
Meaning you can't just buy a one-size-fits-all package online.
Definitely not. A clinician has to look at your specific anatomy, like, do you still have a uterus? Which dictates whether you need progesterone alongside estrogen. What is your personal cardiovascular risk? What is your family history of breast cancer?
I really want to push on the diagnostic side of this too, because I see influencers constantly pushing these $900 comprehensive hormone panels.
Oh, don't even get me started on those.
They do. They tell you to spit in a tube, mail it off, and you get this colorful chart back that promises to tell you exactly what is broken and conveniently which branded supplements will fix it.
Those expensive salivary or blood panels are almost entirely useless for diagnosing perimenopause.
Wait, really?
Completely useless. Remember the shouting match between the brain and the ovaries we talked about?
Yeah, the chaotic communication.
Because of that erratic communication, your hormone levels fluctuate wildly, not just month to month, but literally hour to hour.
So taking a single blood test on a random Tuesday morning to diagnose perimenopause is basically like taking a single photograph of a roller coaster as it goes through a loop and then diagnosing that the car just naturally lives upside down.
Yes.
It's a static snapshot of a violently moving target.
That is the perfect analogy. Your clinical symptoms and your age dictate your menopausal status far more accurately than an expensive snapshot.
Good to know.
We also need to address the deceptive wording the wellness industry uses.
Oh, the natural versus synthetic debate.
Exactly. The term bioidentical or natural does not automatically mean safer than the word synthetic. Synthetic simply means it was synthesized in a lab.
Right.
The FDA-approved hormone therapies you get from a pharmacy are also synthesized in a lab, even if the molecular structure mimics human hormones.
So the irony of the wellness industry is just staggering here.
It really is.
They tell you to avoid closely monitored evidence-based medicine because it's quote-unquote unnatural, but then they aggressively peddle unproven menopause gummies and estrogen detoxes packed in plastic bottles, charging a massive premium simply because there's a picture of a green leaf on the label.
It is entirely predatory. Medical decisions should be driven by clinical evidence and your actual quality of life, not by a social media algorithm designed to make you feel like a broken machine.
Amen to that. And speaking of quality of life, we have to drag a very specific symptom into the light. Women suffer in absolute silence over this far too often, and honestly, it is infuriating.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Let's talk about the genitourinary symptoms. And before we do, genitourinary is a massive clinical mouthful.
It really is a terrible term.
We are basically talking about the bladder and the vaginal tissues, correct? Like the frequent urinary tract infections, the sudden urgency, and the painful sex.
Yes. The clinical term is genitourinary syndrome of menopause, or GSM.
Okay.
Let's explain the why here. Estrogen is responsible for keeping the tissues of the vagina and the urinary tract elastic, plump, and highly lubricated.
Makes sense.
It also maintains a specific acidic pH that keeps bad bacteria out. Without adequate estrogen, those tissues literally thin out, they become fragile, dry, and easily irritated.
And that causes the UTIs.
Exactly. The pH shifts, which is why women suddenly start getting back-to-back UTIs out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And because the tissue is so fragile, intercourse can become excruciatingly painful.
Painful sex is never, ever something a woman should just grit her teeth and tolerate because she feels she is simply quote-unquote aging and her time for pleasure is over.
Never. And the absolute tragedy here is that this is one of the easiest things to treat.
Oh, really?
Yes. Unlike systemic hormone therapy, you can use localized vaginal estrogen. It is a cream or a small insert that delivers estrogen directly to the tissue that needs it, completely bypassing the bloodstream.
Oh, wow. So it's super targeted.
Very targeted. The systemic risks are incredibly low, but it completely restores the elasticity, stops the UTIs, and eliminates the pain. You absolutely do not have to endure it.
But this brings us to the practical application of all this. Because we know the mechanisms now. We understand the dashboard, the symptoms, and the treatments.
Right.
But if you are sitting there listening at 39, how do you synthesize this into an actual game plan without treating it like a 10-step panic protocol?
It's all about preparation. The action plan isn't about buying things, it's about gathering data. You need to know your baseline. Start tracking your cycle today. The length, the flow, the symptoms. So when you walk into a doctor's office in 3 years, you have actual hard data to show them, not just a vague feeling that things are kind of weird.
And alongside tracking your cycle, you need to track your genetic data.
Right.
Have a conversation with your mother or your older sisters.
Oh, definitely. Ask them what their transition was like, when it happened, and what their primary symptoms were. Familial patterns are highly, highly relevant.
And we absolutely must be vigilant about the red flags, too.
Yes, very important.
Perimenopause brings changes, but it should not bring danger.
Right. If you experience incredibly heavy bleeding, where you are, say, soaking through protection in an hour, or bleeding between your periods, or any spotting whatsoever, after you have achieved 12 months without a cycle,
That's a huge red flag.
those are not things you write off as just menopause. Those require immediate medical evaluation to rule out structural issues or cancers.
The timeline of when this starts matters immensely, too. We said the average age of menopause is 52. If you are going through this transition before age 45, that is medically considered early menopause.
Right.
And if it happens before 40, we are talking about premature ovarian insufficiency.
Also known as POI. And this isn't just a cosmetic issue of aging faster.
No.
If you lose estrogen before 40, your bones and your cardiovascular system are exposed and vulnerable for an extra decade without estrogen's protective shield. You absolutely need a doctor's attention to protect your skeletal structure and your heart.
Speaking of protection, let's look at the mechanism behind that cardiovascular risk. Because before menopause, estrogen helps keep the endothelial lining of your blood vessels relaxed and flexible, right?
Yes, and it helps regulate cholesterol production in the liver.
Okay, so when you lose that estrogen, your blood vessels can stiffen, and your lipid panel can suddenly completely flip, with bad cholesterol rising and good cholesterol dropping.
Which is exactly why heart disease risk accelerates so dramatically after menopause. You must protect your lipids and your blood pressure now.
And regarding your bones, estrogen controls the bone-eating cells in your body. When it drops, bone breakdown outpaces bone building.
That sounds terrifying.
That's why you have to lift heavy weights. It creates the mechanical stress that literally forces your body to build new bone.
And amidst all this biology, there is one massive practical misconception we absolutely have to clear up about fertility.
Oh, the fertility myth. Yes.
If your cycle gets wonky in your late 30s, you might naturally assume the factory is closed and you just can't get pregnant anymore.
A lot of people think that.
That is entirely false. You can still ovulate, but it becomes wildly unpredictable.
Right, the dashboard is malfunctioning.
Exactly. Do not rely on perimenopausal irregularity as a form of birth control unless you are fully prepared for a very surprising baby shower at 43.
So to recap the real checklist here, gather your cycle data, gather your family history, start lifting weights to protect your bones, get your lipids checked to protect your heart, and do all of this before you are in an actual crisis.
Before the crisis is key.
Have the conversation with your doctor while you still have your wits about you, not when you are exhausted and drenched in sweat at 3 in the morning trying to navigate a complex healthcare system.
Bringing all of this biological and medical reality together, we really need to offer a profound psychological shift here.
I agree.
Because society has aggressively, relentlessly conditioned women to believe that menopause is an expiration date.
It's framed as the exact moment a woman becomes less.
Yes. Less relevant, less attractive, less vibrant, less capable in the workplace.
It's treated like a slow fade into obsolescence.
But that narrative is a cultural invention. It is not biology.
Say that again for the people in the back.
It is not biology. Biologically, menopause just marks the end of your reproductive cycles. The end of worrying about pregnancy, the end of monthly bleeding, the end of hormonal migraines linked to your cycle.
Which sounds pretty great, honestly.
It is. That is literally all it is. It does not mark the end of your ambition, your intellect, your sexuality, or your impact on the world. If anything, many women find that stepping off the reproductive roller coaster gives them a level of emotional clarity, focus, and power they've never experienced before.
I think separating the cultural baggage from the biological reality is incredibly profound. I have to admit, there's one lingering, deeply frustrating mystery that we haven't entirely solved yet today.
Oh, I know the mystery you're talking about.
You do all the right things, right? You track the data, you eat the adequate protein, you manage your stress, you lift the heavy weights. But then you hit 45, and suddenly the body you have lived in your entire life responds entirely differently to the exact same inputs.
The metabolic shift, the great betrayal, as some people call it.
Exactly. Why does the exact same workout routine suddenly yield 0 results? Why does muscle seem so much harder to hold on to?
It's so frustrating.
And most frustratingly, why does your weight distribution completely change? Like suddenly settling around your midsection? Even if the actual number on the bathroom scale hasn't moved a single pound, what is the actual mechanism happening inside the fat cells and the muscle tissues?
That metabolic mystery is exactly what drives so many women to the point of utter frustration. But answering the why behind that specific cellular shift, and more importantly, how you can actually outsmart your own metabolism, is going to take an entire episode of its own.
Consider it teased. We will definitely be tackling that metabolic puzzle in a future episode of the Living Better podcast, so make sure you stay tuned for that.
You won't want to miss it.
The question you should be asking yourself as you look toward your 40s is not a fearful, am I next?
Because biology is going to march forward, whether you spend your time worrying about it or not.
Exactly. The real question you need to ask yourself is, what do I want my next decade to actually feel like?
I love that.
Are you going to keep treating the blinking lights on your dashboard as a nuisance to just be ignored? Or are you ready to finally look under the hood and take control of the wheel?